Welcome back. Our big focus today is the 6th booster shot that the government gave for MSMEs. Remember, these include collateral-free automatic loans up to 3 lakh crores, 20,000 crores subordinate debt for stressed MSMEs or NPAs, 50,000 crore equity infusion, investment limit that defines MSMEs, no global tenders in government procurement for contracts up to 200 crores, and e-market linkage. The big question, of course, is will this revive the MSMEs that are struggling in the country? Remember, there are more than 65 lakh such units employing more than 12 crore people. Naina Kidwai, former President FICCI, and also joining me is Ashok Sehgal, co-chair of CII's MSME Council, and Animesh Saxena is FISME's president. I want quick reactions from you because we overran on the political debate, but let's understand how you see it. Why don't you start, Mr. Sehgal, since you are directly involved in the MSME sector? How do you see the government's announcements today? Will they kickstart activity in MSMEs?
Well, Rajdeep, thank you. I think the main point about MSMEs are that MSMEs are a very resilient lot of people. Most of them are companies which started small or have been started by the people who are leading them, even if they've become larger. And there is a spirit of entrepreneurship which still prevails. And what we need and what we want is hand-holding and not necessarily handouts. So the measures announced today by the FM are very encouraging because they will enable us to pull through this period. And when things resume, we hope we'll be able to pick up speed again. That said, we have seen in the past that a lot of things which are announced by the government and schemes are made, like the RBI easing off the CRR and other things. At the end of it, the banks sit on the money and put it back in the RBI. So we would like that when these schemes are announced, these actually get disbursed and reach the MSMEs. If they reach the MSMEs, you can count on the MSMEs to do a lot. For example, the amount of funds which can be released with what is the liquidity already available with the banks and the additional guarantees being given by the government. I think that's what we're looking for. We're not necessarily saying that give us large grants of money directly. We're saying give us access to credit. So that's one thing which we hope the banks will loosen their tight hold on their own money and feel encouraged to lend to the MSMEs. Another thing in there is the announcement, which we hope again will get translated, because we've heard it in the past also, that the government will move to release all the blocked funds which are there by way of GST hold-ups, by way of payments from public sector enterprises, public sector units. So all of that would go a long way in making us liquid again to pull through this difficult period, especially with the burden of having to continue to support the workers through wages, which of course is a humanitarian need, which should not be overlooked. And in MSMEs, there is always a much closer bond between the management and the workers than compared to larger units. So there is also a strong moral bond there, which tells us that we must continue to support our workers through these difficult times and share whatever little we have with them.
Naina Kidwai, the ground reality though is banks have been reluctant to lend to MSMEs. And the fact is that as a result, MSMEs today are struggling both with cash flows, as a result of which they're struggling to pay employees. Do you believe really that these announcements that are made in Delhi will translate into an infusion of funding for MSMEs?
Well, I think, Rajdeep, you raise a very important point, because the first 1.27 lakh crore, the TLTRO, gave liquidity into the system. And what we had, in fact, was banks putting the money back to RBI and not lending because of the risk aversion. I do believe that some of the credit enhancement ideas that have come through in the announcements today are necessary, and it's going to be important to see how they actually get fulfilled. But there are some important statements in terms of first loss guarantees for NBFCs, some elements of the risk transferring to government rather than remaining with the banks. And I did hear the SBI chairman in an earlier interview, I think on your channel, actually state that he saw that this would be a step change in terms of banks now coming forward to lend to MSMEs. So I think that critical gap, which was being felt by MSMEs, i.e. they weren't receiving them funds that were in fact in the system, gets at least partly resolved. I think the challenge, Rajdeep, will remain though, that as MSMEs go, they're only as good as the businesses that they run, which depend on consumption and demand. So if the demand doesn't come back, we are going to have MSMEs who now, fortunately, yes, have access to cash, so they can pay their workers, they can run their factories, but run their factories to what end is what will need to be addressed.
Okay.
So getting that demand back to make sure that they can operate at 100% of capacity, that they deploy a full workforce in order to fulfill that demand is going to be key. So I would like to see a lot more demand side, consumption-led type of activity, which brings money back into the consumer's hands.
That's the other big question, of course, that still remains unresolved. Animesh Saxena, your reaction? Do you believe that your concerns are addressed, or do you believe still the ground realities are very different and MSMEs will continue to struggle as long as the lockdown continues?
I have no hesitation in saying that the ground realities are different. You know, you were talking about a revival package. The need of the hour was the survival package first. If we don't survive, there is no hope for the revival. Right now, the industry, especially the MSME, was in badly in need of the cash crunch. What is happening? You see, we had no sale in April, and the March also, when the financial year closes, most of your dispatches are done in the last week to maximize your sale in that financial year.
Right.
Unfortunately, without any sale coming and revenue coming, for us to take care of the wages, salaries, and other fixed costs, it will be very, very difficult. So what we were expecting from the government was some immediate financial package or cash benefit.
So you don't see this 3 lakh, you don't see the 3 lakh crore credit guarantee being enough?
No way. This is not going to help immediately to us. This is a loan which we would be applying for a loan. And it's a prerogative of the bank whether they give me the loan or not. My balance sheet is good enough for them to lend me the money or not. Its guarantee is only the loan against the loan. That if I default in the loan, then the government covers the guarantee with the bank. But the problem is banks, whether they give me the loan, they find me good enough to lend the money is a big question.
Okay, I think you've touched on an important point. As I said, I had limited time. I wish I had more, but I think we will have much more time in the days ahead to expand some of the thoughts that all three of you have put before us. Remember, the MSMEs are critical for the growth of the Indian economy. That is where lakhs and lakhs of workers are employed. I appreciate your joining us. Maybe a small step forward has been taken. Maybe that step is simply not enough in COVID times to really kickstart the economy. Thank you all very much.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.